and of course the other residents in Will County. At your place, I've provided several things for you. First is our United Way brochure, and our thanks to our friends at ExxonMobil, who over the years continue to provide this wonderful communication piece that nicely summarizes the 45 agencies that we support as you open it up, and it highlights some of the key services each of those organizations provide, not only to the residents of Joliet, but the other residents of Will County, and some other information about what we do, our United Way mission, some highlights, as well as some other things I'll talk about in just a minute. But it also shows a map of Will County, and it lists every municipality and shows a number of people that are touched by one or more of our partner agencies. Now, of course, individuals are served by multiple agencies for different things depending on their circumstances. Our agencies are in the process of providing the 2012 service statistics as they apply for funding for fiscal year 2014. The deadline is February 13th. But the rule of thumb is about 1 in 4. 1 in 4 residents from the city of Joliet or the other communities in Will County will reach out to one or more of our 45 partner agencies for their particular circumstances. And I don't have to tell you, the needs continue to grow. More people are facing a number of challenges in our community, but thank God our organizations are there to help address those challenges one would face. The handouts I have for you at your place also is what we call our agency service flyer. It's a very quick alphabetical listing of our 45 partner agencies, an alphabetical list of the services they provide, again, to the residents of Joliet and the other residents in Will County. A couple things I want to point out on that service flyer is this family-wise prescription program. This partners with United Ways across the country, and regardless of one has health insurance or not, if a medication is not covered by their health care program, or obviously if they don't have insurance, they can qualify for a 20-30% discount. Most of our pharmacies, whether it's Walgreens, CVS, Osco's, most of the national pharmacies, or even local pharmacies that might be specific to a certain region, participate. One goes online with the FamilyWise website, checks, puts in their zip code, and they'll find a local pharmacy that will be able to help them. And there's a real-time link to our website, unitedwaywill.org. And when I checked it a week or so ago, well over $250,000 has been saved by persons who took advantage of this prescription program. Of course, when they register with their pharmacy, it's a private PIN number, but it tracks it by zip codes, and all the zip codes for Will County come back to us so we can see that people are utilizing the savings. The other thing is this 24-hour helpline crisis line in Will County. You know crisis line very well. It's a wonderful 24/7 human service referral mechanism. I mean, we can pick up the phone right now in the middle of the night. One would dial that number. Someone always answers, that friendly voice at the end of the phone. Here's the need I have. What agency or agencies can meet that particular need? And they can direct that caller to that specific agency. I mean, they can tell the caller, here's the closest food pantry to where you live, and hours of operation. Obviously, if someone has a crisis, they will have someone to talk to, and then, of course, get that person to the help they need. It really enhances an employee assistance program when we go out to meet, especially with new companies that we're trying to get involved with United Way. This is a partnership. It's not just a one-way street where obviously the financial support is key, and employee support, but the services that are rendered back to help their residents is critical. And so their human resources department can use this to enhance their employee assistance program. Everywhere we go, we'll find employees who have benefited from one or more of our partner agencies. You know that, your employees know that, and they give back. But companies that may not implement a United Way campaign, this would be something where they will recognize many of the agencies and then give their employees the opportunity to give back. The second page is just a map of Will County. It's a neat visual. It's one thing to see the agencies alphabetically, many of them you recognize, but when you see the logos of these 45 partners and see some of these national organizations that have local chapters that serve the other communities, it's a wonderful visual. And what this does is to show one that when they're making their gift to their workplace campaign, they're reaching out to 45 partner organizations with that one gift and helping so many people who are touched. And speaking of people who are touched, the third handout is a list of about 30 agencies and how many people they served during 2011. We're in the process of getting the 2012 numbers, but it's a significant number from the residents of Joliet, that is. And we do this for every municipality we go to, that will show how many people touch. Now, it could be a person they see once. It could be a person they see every day. For example, we have a number of agencies that serve adults with disabilities, Easter Seals, United Cerebral Palsy, Trinity Service, Cornerstones, just to name a few. So they'll see that person every day. But that young man, that young lady is only recorded once. But you can see, as I mentioned earlier, that rule of thumb of 1 in 4 is a pretty good number. 1 in 4 residents from this community and the other communities will reach out to one or more of our 45 partners. And the last piece is a 6-year history of the city of Joliet. And first of all, on behalf of our board chair, Kathy Slattery, with Lewis University, and our campaign chair this year, Mike Ridoff, with the private bank, extend their best wishes and thank the city of Joliet for the leadership you continue to provide. You can see going back in 2007, 2008, when we did have matching funds, how much was raised. And then over the years, there's been a consistent support. We realize there's less people each year, but each person who gives generously and gives back, and you certainly lead by example in terms of what the city of Joliet employees do, and well over half of your employees support your workplace campaign. I want to also express our thanks to Chief Joe Formals. Chief Joe has been on our Public Service Division leadership team for many years. The chair is Kurt Carroll, who you know with the Village of New Lenox. He's their village manager. He leads the Public Service Division, and we have leadership from all different phases, from townships and municipalities and other public entities from our county that help us share that message among their colleagues and then to the other entities in our public service sector to embrace their United Way campaign and pledge their support. And we're grateful because Chief is helping us with working with other fire departments. Of course, your former police chief, Fred Hayes, who's now with Elwood, Chief Hayes is our incoming vice chair and has been on our board for many years and will be our board chair coming up in a few years as we transition our leadership. But the public service sector has been key. And then also we had a new member of our program and allocations team, Marty Wunderlich from your police department. Marty served this past year as our volunteers who go out and screen the agencies. They visit our agency, see firsthand what they do, listen to the stories of their leadership as they make their presentation to volunteers who carefully will review and look at priorities and then make the funding recommendations to our governing board. And your former assistant city manager, Jim Shepard, even though he's retired, has been retired for a number of years, continues to still serve on this important committee. So we're grateful to the volunteers. In fact, we had about 25 new volunteers who stepped up to be part of our programs and allocations committee process. Because they'll see us maybe 10 minutes, like I'm only here 10, 15 minutes, but you know us and we see each other many ways, and many of you support your own company's workplace campaigns, which we're very grateful. But this gives those volunteers to see the other side of United Way, look at priorities, look at how we assess new agencies who knock on our community door to ask for support, and then carefully decide whether or not that agency that must show that they're providing a service not duplicated by the agency we're currently supporting, and welcome them. In fact, we did add 2 new agencies this year. DUCAP, which is the northern part of the county, working with the Valley View School District, working with a lot of young people and helping in productive activities. We welcome them as a partner agency. And then St. Francis Health and Wellness Center, as you know, now merged with Aunt Martha's, asked us for support, and we were able to welcome them. And as you know, they've opened up a diversion clinic in President St. Joseph Medical Center. I think there's ribbon cutting coming up in a couple weeks. The new federally qualified health center on the former campus of Silver Cross. We work with them and with their youth services and other things that they do. And St. Francis complemented that and the good things that they do and the health care needs. And of course, we do fund the Will Grundy Medical Clinic, the Will County Community Health Center, but it certainly complemented and wasn't a duplication of what those organizations provide. But those volunteers, those new ones, to a person were frustrated. And their frustration was not that, it was certainly an eye-opener for them to assess and look at the agencies, look how we assess priorities, but their frustration was that they didn't have more to give. As you well know, more residents are reaching out to our agencies than ever before. Our agencies are reporting that they're seeing people they've never seen before asking for help, and that we need to be in a position to add more funds to help meet those needs. Now, last year, we were very blessed to exceed our goal of $3,920,001 by actually raising about $25,000 over last year's goal. And so all the agencies who came before us were able to give a little bit more. Some of you are affiliated with some of those agencies, serving on their board or volunteer, and know that they did get a little more funding this year to help address that. But still, at the end of the day, with well over 300 businesses and organizations that support us, there were still over 30,000 people, and that's probably a low number, that didn't make a gift. If those 30,000 just gave $1 a week, $52 a year, you do the math on over 30,000 people, that would have been $1.5 million new dollars that would have been available to those volunteers to address those growing requests. This year's goal that Mike Rudolph announced on October 4th, and thank you, Mayor, for being there to welcome our guests at our kickoff at the Jacob Henry Mansion, is $4,001,001. So again, we have that $1 at the end of our goal. Again, the ask is for those who kindly gave last year, if they can see in their heart to increase their United Way gift at their workplace by $1 a week or more. And those who are new to the company or didn't have a chance to give last year or chose not to give to their company's campaign last year for whatever reason, just if they give $1 a week, possibly a little bit more. That does not include prospects. And I know we've talked about new businesses locating here or the other communities and trying to welcome them and to embrace United Way campaign, but just our current supporters. And when we close this year's banquet celebration in May or June of this year, if everybody grants our ask, Mike Rudolph will proudly announce that our community has raised well over $5 million, way beyond that $4,001,001 goal. We're facing challenges. Right now, we're at about 62% of our campaign. We have a number of companies who are facing challenges and trying to maintain what they did last year. We're hoping that they can. And then again, we'll continue to broaden our base of support. So again, on behalf of our 45 partners, the 1 in 4 residents who will reach out for assistance today and tomorrow to our partner agencies, I want to thank the City of Joliet, the Mayor, the City Council, City staff for embracing your United Way campaign. We'd like to, and I've talked to Tom and the Mayor about this before, that we'd like to take what you do and bottle it and take it out to the other municipalities in our county to really set that benchmark and ask them to embrace their workplace campaign as you certainly do. So again, we're grateful. We look forward to our continued partnership. The agencies are proud of what they do to serve this wonderful community. And with that, let me stop and answer any questions. I think I've almost exhausted my 15 minutes. Got 1 minute left. Of any questions you may have about your local United Way.
How are you, Mike?
Hey, John.
I've actually had the opportunity to work with Mike probably over the last 15 or 20 years, just being with the county, and United Way is very fortunate to have a professional as Mike Hennessy working with them. But just a few comments with respect to United Way. I think it's probably in your literature somewhere here, but maybe you've mentioned it, but only the overhead attributed to United Way is only about 10%. So basically every dollar that you contribute to United Way, 90% is going to your agencies. Another interesting thing is that United Way has already vetted all these organizations. So you know that the organizations that you're contributing to and you're donating to are quality organizations that are doing what they say they're going to be doing in the community as far as helping those that are less fortunate. And the third comment I'd like to make, one of the most important thing, is that your contribution, your dollars, remain local. It assists the members of our community, of our Will County community and our Joliet community. So I commend you for the work you're doing down there, Mike, at United Way. And I know that I contribute on my paycheck, and I would encourage everyone else to help out as well. So,
Thank you, John.
Sure. Thanks, Mike.
And
Thanks for
you're
coming.
right, the money stays right here. The local volunteers make those assessments and ask for that accountability that you expect as our United Way donor to make sure we're reaching the greatest amount of people who need help and doing what we can to prioritize and address need.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Anything else I can share?
No, just keep up the good work, Mike.
Thank you.
It's a great organization.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, there are 4 liquor license matters on the agenda. I'll ask Jim Murphy, Deputy Liquor Commissioner, to address them.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. First up, Council Memo 57-13, Sugar Creek Liquors. The hearing was held on January 8th, 2013, for the requested transfer of shares of a Class C liquor license for Sugar Creek Liquors at 1200 Richard Street. Class C allows for packaged goods liquor sales on the premises only. The applicants are Elizabeth A. Perona and Robert L. Perona. The transfer of shares is being requested following the death of Elizabeth's husband and longtime owner Robert J. Perona. Elizabeth and Robert J. have owned Sugar Creek Liquors for 31 years. Elizabeth is requesting the transfer of her late husband's shares to her son Robert L. Perona. No citizens appeared in opposition to the requested transfer. The applicants are residents of the city of Joliet. There are no outstanding monies owed to the city. The requested transfer is recommended by the Building, Fire, and Police Departments. The Liquor Commissioner is also recommending approval.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Krista?
It's been motioned and seconded a Class C liquor license be transferred to Robert and Elizabeth Perona for Sugar Creek Liquors. Councilwoman Barber?
Aye.
Councilman Fisher?
Aye.
Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Mayor Durrani?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next up, Council Memo 58-13, Betty's Bistro. A hearing was held on January 22nd, 2013, for the issuance of a Class D liquor license for Betty's Bistro, 3068 Caton Farm Road, number 13. Class D allows for the sale of beer and wine on the premises only. The applicant is Oak Brook Terrace, Illinois-based Blackhawk Restaurant Group, LLC. Joliet resident Mary Jensen has been named resident manager. While Betty's Bistro is expected to open later this summer, the applicant is seeking approval of a liquor license at this time so they may proceed with their application to the Illinois Gaming Board for a video poker license. No citizens appeared in opposition to the requested license. There are no outstanding monies owed to the city, and the Liquor Commissioner is recommending approval.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
I have a question. Is this what type of restaurant is this going to be?
They're about anywhere between 1,400, 1,800 square feet. They serve fresh sandwiches, paninis. It's beer and wine only, and they're all over the country in states that have allowed for video poker, and they employ 7 people full time, 5 people part time. This Blackhawk Restaurant Group is looking to put 3 in the city of Joliet, which is why we have some repetition on the
I did see,
council member.
so it's basically like a sandwich restaurant?
It's a fresh sandwich
Fresh
restaurant.
sandwiches?
Panini sandwiches,
Sit there-
salads,
So you sit there and have your beer and wine and play poker and eat?
if the spirit moves you.
Thanks.
Mayor?
Yes.
Jim, and what's their track record around the country since they're new to our community? What's their track record as a chain around the country?
Mike Hansen is here. Mike is their legal counsel. I'm sure Mike can vouch for that.
Mike, I'm not familiar with them at all.
Yeah, Councilman Hug. The Blackhawk Restaurant people are based in Oregon. That's where they have their roots. They've, in addition to Jim mentioned, they're in other states. So this concept started out there. They're one of the leading ones in the country. And Jim mentioned that there are going to be 3 in the city of Joliet. They're going to be applying for 3 more licenses here too. So these people think that this market, remember there are only 5 machines per location. So they think that this market is really a market that can take off. They have a very high reputation, in the industry for this type of thing. So I think it's a good client to bring to the city of Joliet.
Thanks, Mike.
Just for the record, the Liquor Commissioner's Office has taken the position that them, and along with other investors, have been in the office to look at investing these same type of restaurant and video poker. And we've taken the position that if there is a strip mall and there is a bar in that strip mall that's been here and have been paying taxes, we will not allow them in that same strip mall. They need to find places in strip malls where there is no other bar, so they do not take business away from the bar. Those bars have been here and paid taxes, so we are taking care of them along those lines.
And these are quite far out west,
Oh, yeah.
which is good.
Yes.
We need more commercial out there.
Kristen?
It's in motion and seconded that a Class D liquor license be issued to Blackhawk Restaurant Group for Betty's Bistro at 3068 Caton Farm Road. Councilman Fisher?
Aye.
Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Barber?
Aye.
Mayor Durrani?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next up is Council Memo 5913. A hearing was held on January 22nd, 2013 for the issuance of a Class D liquor license for Penny's Place, 2410 West Jefferson Street, Suite 104, that is located right in front of the Menards and the Walmart on Jefferson Street. Class D allows for the sale of beer and wine on premises only. Blackhawk Restaurant Group is the applicant. Mary Jensen, the resident manager. Betty's Bistro, or Penny's Place rather, is expected to open this summer, and they again seeking approval of a liquor license at this time, so they may proceed with their application to the gaming board. No citizens appeared in opposition to the requested license. No outstanding monies owed to the city. Liquor Commissioner is recommending approval.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and seconded to approve a Class D liquor license for Blackhawk Restaurant Group for Penny's Place. Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Barber.
Aye.
Councilman Fisher.
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Council Memo 60-13, the other Betty's Bistro. The hearing was held on January 22nd, 2013 for a Class D for Betty's Bistro at 2310 Illinois Route 59, Suite 7. This is a Plainfield address located within the city of Joliet. Class D is for beer and wine premises only. Oakbrook Terrace-based Blackhawk Restaurant Group is the applicant. Mary Jensen, again, the resident manager. And again, the same reason they're seeking approval for a liquor license at this time, so they proceed with their app with the Illinois Gaming Board for a video poker license. No citizens appeared in opposition to the requested license. No outstanding monies owed to the city. The Liquor Commissioner is recommending approval.
So moved.
Second.
Krista?
It's in motion and seconded a Class D liquor license be issued to Blackhawk Group for Betty's Bistro located at 2310 Illinois Route 59. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye for the
Council-
B&B.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Barber.
Aye.
Councilman Fisher.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if we can move up one more item, it's Council Memo 40-13, 40-13. That's a resolution authorizing actually the donation of the condo at 205 3rd Avenue to Will County Habitat for Humanity. Back in 2002, the city acquired a 4-unit apartment building and converted it to condominiums. The city was successful in selling 3 of the 4 condos in the private sector or private market. The 4th one we've not been able to sell. We've dropped the price several times and just haven't had any takers. And tried to market it aggressively, but just not much of a market there for it. In meeting with Will County Habitat for Humanity, they expressed interest in the unit. We think it's a good way to put the unit back to valuable use. So our recommendation is to convey title to Will County Habitat for Humanity, give our staff a chance to exit from the building too. We've been basically operating as building managers, and it'll give us a chance to step away from that responsibility. Annette Leck is present on behalf of Will County Habitat for Humanity, and I know she'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, I want to say thank you very much for this. The Habitat program is about a hand up, not just a handout, and we will find a responsible family to not only live there, but they will eventually own the property. We give a 20-year mortgage interest-free, and the people must qualify with a job, decent credit, and their debt ratio must be in line. So we're very excited. This is our first venture into a condo, though many other habitats have been doing that. And this is Ben Komar, our vice president.
Sorry, I was working in the back, so I just snuck in. We want to thank you again for supporting Habitat for Humanity. It's a great effort. I think we have a really good relationship with the city of Joliet, and it will definitely be put to good use with a deserving family. Thank you so much.
Jeff, can we do this tonight? Yeah.
So moved.
Without objection.
Second.
Questions?
It's been motion and seconded, said resolution be adopted. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Barber.
Aye.
Councilman Fisher.
First, I would like to say thanks to the staff. I like the idea of partnerships rather than us, trying to do everything on our own, us being the city of Joliet. I think these partnerships are very valuable, and I vote aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
I had a couple of questions, but you folks answered them before I had a chance to ask them. Tom, I'm sorry to hear you don't want to be Mr. Roper on Three's Company anymore, be the landlord.
Oh, I didn't
Aye.
say that.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Turned a little red on that one, Tom.
I'm very modest. Matt, congratulations.
All on you.
Thank you.
Terms, sorry. Terms.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we don't have any other agenda items to be moved up. We do have two speakers under citizens to be heard. If, with your permission, I'd recommend that we hear from Father Jose Luis Torres and Father Jose Celia regarding the detention center.
I am Father Jose Celia, and I am the associate pastor, and he is Father Jose Torres, pastor of Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Joliet. We ask humbly and with faith that you consider the building of the center for so many people who come here to try to work and to progress. We have to remember that many years ago, 500 years ago, many came from Europe and England here to the United States because of the persecutions in so many ways. And they were helped by the real American ones, the Indians. And they helped them and they supported them in order to have a way of living. I am originally from the island of Malta. When I was ordained a priest, I was sent to Bolivia and Peru, very, very poor countries. 10 years ago, I came here because of the Spanish in order to support the Latinos. I know very well how hard they do work in order to support their families and at the same time paying taxes and doing the worst jobs. They help the country, the Americans. We are all the same human beings, and we have the right to live and to let others live. I think all of you have a family to support, and each one, the father, the mother, and the children are supposed to work together to help so that there will be peace and harmony among each family. From the family comes the president and the lawyer and the married women and the doctor, well, everyone. And we need that the families are always together. What happens if a father or a mother is deported, and then there will be destruction of the family, separated? What we need are jobs to build a center for prisoners. That is not a good thing. It's harmful. We will be destroying people, and we are supposed to do all the best to love them and to help them in so many ways. I do hope that you all consider these humble words, but with love spoken to you by us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I will again state that there is no proposal before the mayor and city council for a detention center. There's been discussions that I've had with a private corporation that builds and operates detention centers for the federal government. I sent a letter to the federal government in August of 2012 2012, expressing my interest on behalf of the city of Joliet in looking into the construction of a detention center. When I was informed that it's a $50 to $60 million project, it would generate about 300 construction jobs, and that it would be 250 permanent jobs that would pay about $40,000 a year or more, and pay benefits. It was an endeavor that I thought worth pursuing, but I will reiterate the mayor and city council have not been asked to weigh in on the topic. At this point, it's purely an academic discussion. I know that there are many people here who would like to have you start talking about it, but my recommendation has been not to spend a lot of time on it until we know that there may be a project. I know that the federal government will be building a detention center in the Chicago area, someplace within a 60-mile radius of downtown Chicago. I thought when I saw that type of investment, that those job opportunities, especially in a town that has 12 to 13% unemployment and where we have union halls with 30 to 40% unemployment, it's something that I thought worthwhile pursuing, and that's why I sent the letter in August of 2012 and followed up with a meeting with ICE officials. But again, purely exploratory on my part, nothing different than what I do whenever we pursue development. We hit on some, and others we don't. When we do hit, we bring it to the mayor and city council for consideration. When we don't hit, we close the file, put it away, and move on to the next project. So I just wanted to reiterate that. I believe there will be some articles in the paper and some other outlets tomorrow talking about this letter that I sent in August of 2012. It has been a public record from the day that it was written. I produced it pursuant to two FOIAs that were filed a couple months ago. Had the reporters asked me for the letter, I would have gladly given it to them without FOIAs. So, and I understand it's being positioned that I've been very aggressive in my pursuit of the project, and I thought it is my job to pursue $50 million projects that create jobs. If that's not my job, then you need to let me know that. Otherwise, it's something that I think it's my job to pursue. Having said that, my recommendation is to move on with the agenda.
Just one statement. That is your job, and you do it very well. It's your job to go out and find businesses and industry that's going to bring jobs to the city of Joliet, and then this mayor and council will make the final decision as you stated, and I appreciate the job you do.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the regular agenda, we have the approval of the minutes from January 14th and 15th for your review. We'll have several committee reports also on the agenda for tomorrow night's meeting. Next item, Council Memo Number 30-13, is a request to change the hiring process for entry-level firefighters. The recommendation before you is coming from the Fire and Police Board with two options and from the staff with a recommendation for one option. Option one basically boils down to requiring a paramedic certificate to be held by anyone who applies for the position of paramedic firefighter with the City of Joliet. The Fire and Police Board had a second option for your consideration, and that was to give preference points if somebody had a certificate but not requiring it in advance in order to apply. Staff has reviewed that, and we reviewed it with the Public Safety Committee on January 15th, and the recommendation is for option one to require the paramedic certificate in advance of applying. As we saw recently, requiring the paramedic certificate would save the city about $40,000 per paramedic firefighter. So we're making that recommendation. I believe you'll have to follow up with either, is it an amendment to the Fire and Police Board rules or an ordinance?
Under our current Police and Fire Board ordinance and rules, council concurrence of all Police and Fire Board rules is required. So this would be the council's opportunity to concur or to not agree to the board's recommendation regarding proposed changes. Based on the council's vote, we'll take whatever the council's direction is, document that appropriately, and present it in rule form to the Police and Fire Board for final action.
And
Tom, I've got a quick question. When we met at the Public Safety Committee meeting, maybe this is for Joe, I'm not sure, but we did agree with option one. You know, we wanted the applicants to have their, paramedic certificate. There was one item, I know we were going to attach some, give some preference points for veterans, for residents of the city of Joliet. There was one on there that I thought we were going to remove, and I see it on it, it's in red. It's the Basic Firefighter Training Academy, and it was pointed out to the committee that the applicant would actually have to be a firefighter in another in another department somewhere else in order to get that type of training. So the committee had discussed removing that and not giving any points, because I think it would be counterproductive what we're trying to do, which is give some Joliet residents the opportunity to apply for these jobs, and two, make them available to young people. And that would be kind of an unfair advantage if a person already had that certificate, since you can't get that certificate unless you've been working as a firefighter. Is that true, Joe?
Yes, you have to have some sort of a connection with a fire department, full-time, part-time, to have that ability to test with the Office of the State Fire Marshal for that certification. So because of that requirement, we thought kind of created an unfair advantage, and we took that off. So the final version only allows for two types of preference points: the military points and then the residency points.
Okay. So that item that's bold in red is going to come out of the amendment.
Yeah,
Okay.
and page 3 of the council memo basically says that the committee did vote unanimously to strike the education preference points from option 1 due to the fact
Sorry, I
that
didn't
the
see that.
candidate would need to be affiliated with a fire department or a fire protection district in order to be allowed to take the firefighter 2 exam through the Office of the State Fire
Great.
Marshal.
Okay.
So
Thanks,
it
Joe.
was just left in so you could see the original two
Very
different versions.
Thank you.
Along those same lines, having been the one that pointed this out, I was always against a prerequisite for paramedics because, and Joe and I talked about this, Chief, because years ago, in order to be a paramedic, you had to have a fire department sponsor you, and that would definitely be a detriment to minorities. So I was totally against a prerequisite for a paramedic, but now anybody can go to EMT school and go to paramedic school and get that qualification before taking the test. So therefore, I'll support it now. So just wanted to point that out.
Yes, Silver Cross Hospital is, they're the providers in our local area for paramedic school, and they will work with the individuals. If they have a sponsoring fire department, then they can ride and do their work through them. If they come without a sponsoring fire department, they will find someone to sponsor to do the ride time, basically. The city of Joliet's done that. We've been able to open up our doors too and allow non-Joliet paramedics, I should say, to ride with us and get their training. So we've been doing that the last couple of years.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this will be on tomorrow night's agenda for your consideration.
Okay.
Next item, Council Memo 31-13, request to fill position vacancies. 2 vacancies in the fire department through retirements due to disabilities. First position is a fire lieutenant. Second one is a fire captain. We're requesting authorization to fill those 2 positions. We are not asking for authorization to fill subsequent vacancies at this point. We have filed a request with the Department of Homeland Security through FEMA to ask for a waiver to fill those positions. As you may recall during our discussion on the SAFER grant, if we had vacancies, the SAFER grant would have required us to fill those positions. Chief Formals and I have worked on a request for waiver, and it's pending. We're waiting for a response, and we'll let you know what that response is. Next.
So,
I'm sorry. I would like kept up to date on what the overtime results are going to be by not filling them positions on the bottom, because the reason we got the grant and hired the people was to offset the overtime. And if we continue not to hire these people, which are already budgeted, the money's in the budget for them, what effect that's going to have on our overtime?
And Chief Formals does track it on a daily basis, and I'd certainly recommend that he provide you with, if we can do monthly updates, we'll probably do that.
Okay.
So we'll follow up with the Public Safety Committee. That's probably the best place to keep them apprised, and they can report back to you.
Thank you. You had a comment?
I did.
Yeah.
Just a question to wrap my head around this. We have to hire them because we have the money, or we have to wait for the waiver from the other? I'm not quite clear on that.
My request is to fill these 2 positions. These 2 positions have nothing to do with the SAFER grant. These are 2 command positions that became vacant through unexpected retirements due to disabilities sustained by these 2 particular firefighters. One is a captain, one's a lieutenant. So we have 2 vacancies to fill. I'm asking authorization to fill that. Usually, back in the old days, we would have come in and asked you to fill the subsequent vacancies created by people moving up in rank. Eventually, we will have 2 entry-level firefighter positions that are open. Because we've been running without filling those positions over the last 5 years due to budgetary constraints, I probably would not have asked to fill those positions. But now that we've accepted the SAFER grant for the 8 positions, a condition of the SAFER grant was to fill vacancies that may occur at the firefighter level. And the reason for that is the federal government did not want us to accept a $2 million grant and then turn around and start saving money, not carrying out the goal of putting people back to work in firefighting and paramedic services by running with additional vacancies. Now, there is a provision in the grant, though, that allows us to request a waiver if we have a financial hardship, and that's the documentation that Chief Formals and I have put together asking for a waiver of that. I think what the mayor's point is that even if we're successful in getting the waiver, this council would like to weigh in, or at least the mayor would like to weigh in on whether we fill those positions, because by not filling positions, we have a higher incidence of overtime expense. Because I think, I'm sure you remember the board that Chief Formals carries and shows the various positions. The fewer floaters that he has to fill day-to-day vacancies, the higher we have, a higher incidence of overtime that we have if we don't take pieces of equipment out of service. So that's the exercise we're going through. The only issue before you now is to fill these 2 vacancies in the command staff, but nothing at the entry level. We'll be back to visit that with you once we hear back from FEMA.
And since you mentioned the waiver, when did you apply for that waiver?
Actually, I think Chief Formal sent some information a few weeks ago. I did a letter today asking for some additional information. They wanted to know what the impact has been on other public safety positions, basically what's happened in our police department. And we have a story to tell on that side where we are running, at one point we were running almost 60 police officers down from where we were 5 years ago. So I supplied that information in a letter that we sent out today.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, quick question. What will that leave our fire department at if we don't fill these subsequent openings after we have promotion?
205.
And where are we at on, the mayor made a good point, asked a good question. Where are we at on overtime right now, even prior to those, even prior to the retirements?
Yeah. There are some overtime figures in the report here today, but that's some carryover from before we had everybody, all 8 firefighters in the fold. We had a couple graduate, I believe, in December that are now floaters filling vacancies that we have on a daily basis, whether it's through sick leave or some training or whatever the absence may be. So we're, the chief, I'm not sure where we ended up with the month of January, but if you could get us, I know we talked about it last week. Yeah.
And Chief, didn't we, actually, it might be just coincidence, but today we just voted on, or discussed voting on tomorrow with requiring paramedics license. Didn't the majority of the new 8 hires have paramedic license?
Yes,
6 of the 8 did, correct? So that saved us some money there.
Six had paramedic licenses, and they also had their firefighter 2, so they were basically ready to go right on duty. We did a little bit of orientation within the department, but put those guys pretty much right on duty. The 2 other individuals had to go to the fire academy, and they are now in EMTB school. They'll finish that up the end of this month, and then they will start paramedic school in April.
So since the approval of the hiring and the actual hiring, we had 6 on, but we didn't have 2 because 6 kind of laterally moved, if you will.
6 laterally moved, but the other 2 are on. They are
Now.
filling. They are helping us with the overtime. Yes, they, as of December 22nd, I think they finished the fire academy. I think they went on shift the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of December. So those 3 days, we moved those people onto shift, and they've been on shift. They've been helping us with the overtime. So,
Thank you.
Chief, one other. I know a major aspect when you give us the overtime report, along with that, you need to give us how many times you've had to take either an ambulance and a truck out of service to offset that overtime.
I've got it broken down. We'll show you. on a day-to-day basis where the new firefighters are, what positions they're occupying. So that's an overtime savings that you're experiencing because you have those people now. We'll show you how many people are off on sick, workman's comp, light duty, funeral leave, the whole gamut of people off. We'll show you how many floaters we have on each particular shift, and then we'll show you what we've done as far as what vehicles we've taken out of service on a day-to-day basis to help try to manage some of the overtime costs.
Thank you.
So I'll have that for you tomorrow.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, there's a third position on this particular council memo 31-13, and that's for the filling of a civil engineer 2 position in the Public Utilities Department. It's a position that's been vacant for about 4 years, but with the additional work that we have in our capital development program for utilities, water and sewer main work, our recommendation is to fill that position and make sure that that person comes in and can help us with a lot of the design work and also some other issues dealing with our CSO project, which is ramping up, and other utility projects. Next item, 32-13, is a request for annexation of property at the corner of Leach Street and Eagle Street. There's a recommendation to table that until March 5th, the city council meeting.
So moved.
Actually, tomorrow night? Tomorrow night.
It's a public hearing. We're going to wait.
Next item, 34-13, it's a special use permit to allow outdoor storage of semi-trailers and tractor-trailers. This is at 1748 Irish Indian Trail. This is the Crown Trig Industrial Park development that is off of Route 6. The petitioner is Sun City Transportation Corporation. It's a building that was constructed in 1997. There's an 1,100 square foot building also on the property that would be demolished to help with traffic circulation. The request is to accommodate 8 semi-trailers and trucks on the site. This went before the Zoning Board of Appeals on January 17th. ZBA recommended in favor of the petition. Staff is doing the same. I don't know if the petitioner is present today. Anyway, this will be on tomorrow's agenda. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. I think Jim, there he is, Jim Haller's present if you have any questions between now and tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, question?
Tom, and just to be certain, this is all industrial, so it's not necessary to put any kind of berming up for the outdoor storage, am I correct?
It's an existing industrial park that has been in existence probably, what, 15 or 20 years, Jim? Maybe even longer.
Crown Trig operated out of this site.
Go ahead.
Crown Trig was a local paving contractor that was very big at the time, operated out of this site probably for 30 years before they developed it into industrial park. So this area right next to the Caterpillar plant has been industrial for a long time in the city limits, I'm going to tell you, since the early 70s.
Thank you.
Next item, 35-13, is an ordinance declaring public nuisances at the following addresses: 105 Iowa, 209 Fifth, 817 Sherman, 350 South Ottawa, 458 South Joliet, 350 South Des Plaines, 252 McRoberts. The city staff is asking for authorization to proceed with demolition or repair of the property. Photos are attached to the council memo that is online and available for public inspection. Next item, Council Memo 37-13, is a request to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Will County 911 Emergency Telephone System Board. This is a grant that would be coming to the City of Joliet in the amount of $113,288 to purchase equipment, radio equipment, to be used by the Joliet Fire Department. Staff is recommending approval of the intergovernmental agreement. Next item is Council Memo 38-13. It's a request for approving an agreement with the State of Illinois Department of Transportation, otherwise known as IDOT, for improvements that will take place at Route 53 and Laraway Road. This will be traffic signal improvements. The total cost for the City of Joliet will be $31,129. Our share covers 5% of the traffic signals, 100% of the emergency vehicle preemption equipment to be installed on the traffic signals, and then the illuminated street signs that would be added. So that all of that costs $31,129. That is about, and I don't recall the total. Total cost for the project is about, looks like about $135,000. The city's paying $31,000 of that. And the next item goes along with that, Council Memo 39-13, and that's a resolution appropriating MFT funds, or motor fuel tax funds, for the city's portion of the project at Laraway and 53. Council Memo 40-13, we've taken care of. 41-13 is a request to sell real estate at 308 Youngs Avenue to the Christ is the Rock Church, which is the adjacent property owner. The city acquired the lot, which is the site of the parking lots for the former Carlson Funeral Home back in 2001. The church that's adjacent to the property would now like to purchase it and incorporate the parking into their ownership. The sale price that's being recommended is just over $781. Staff is recommending approval of the authorization to sell.
Mayor?
Yes.
Tom, and it's remaining parking as they propose now?
Yes. Council Memo 42-13 is a resolution for another intergovernmental agreement with the Will County Emergency 911 Telephone System Board. This one is for an allocation for the Joliet Police Department, an allocation in the same amount as the Fire Department, $113,288, and also reallocation of $77,000 for reimbursement of expenditures. Staff is recommending approval of that agreement. We have the regular payroll for January 4th and January 18th for your consideration tomorrow. And then the remaining items will be reviewed by the Public Service Committee tomorrow morning at 7:15 in the Planning Conference Room. I believe we have withdrawn one item for consideration, and that is 47. Krista, is that 47?
Correct.
Yeah, 47-13 will be withdrawn from the agenda. 48-13 will stay on, I believe, right, Scott? And that is, I believe that was reviewed by the CTIS committee, and I'm sure there'll be a report on that tomorrow for a contract for software services for the Neighborhood Services Division. The remaining items are Public Works related and will be reviewed by the Public Service Committee. That concludes the agenda. We do have a request for a brief closed session, unless you have any other business for the open session.
A motion to go into a closed session.
Second.
So motion and seconded to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which meeting will be adjourned. Councilman Odekirk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman? Aye. Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilwoman Barber?
Aye.
Councilman Fisher?
Aye.
Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hud?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Mayor Durrani?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Up here.
Tom?
Or maybe here.